Real quick, couple of things on this video. First, this is part 2, so if you want to see the inner frame being built, check out part 1. Second, after completing the build, I decided I wanted to do some color customization. I'll provide some brief commentary on that when we get there, then allow music to play for the rest of the customization process. Finally, I bought the Wings of Light add-on, but I first show a collage of base model poses. Then I show the unboxing and adding of the Wings of Light. So if you want to see those, please watch to the end of the video. Also consider donating to my Patreon, buy me a coffee, and or liking and subscribing. Thanks. All right, minor customization time. So I only decided to do some customization after seeing how much I hated the gray pieces on this kit. To me, the gray makes those pieces look incredibly dull and cheap, somewhat ruining what is otherwise an amazing kit. I think this is especially true when you compare it to how vibrant the inner frame looks. I didn't want to change the overall look, I just wanted to update some of the existing colors to give the outer frame the same vibrancy. So after my last customization was done so disjointed and randomly, I promised to have it organized better for next time. Thus, I've listed what I effectively think are the 5 different kinds of customization. First is scribing. For those of you who don't know what scribing is, it is the cutting into the model plastic to add additional lines and detail to it. Second, we have sculpting, which is adding additional plastic or pieces to the model. So this can be as simple as covering up seam lines, to adding PLA plate to actual sculpting with putty. Third is painting, which should be pretty self-evident. Next is detailing, which you could certainly say includes everything on this list. But for the sake of this breakdown, I'm defining as adding surface level detail that's not altering the structure or painting the underlying model. So this would be your panel lining, water decals, stickers, etc. The final category is additions. So expansion kits, LEDs, any custom made parts or weapons, etc. Anyway, I didn't do any scribing or sculpting, so we can skip those 2 steps. I was mainly just concerned with the painting because I hated that gray. Now keep in mind, I didn't originally plan on doing customization, which means I used all the stickers as I went, which means I had to either remove all the stickers and then reapply them or paint over them and then try to paint in that sticker color. I had a metallic green Gundam marker I tested to see if I could just paint over the stickers, but it didn't work and I just ended up creating a huge mess. So I had to go in and remove all the stickers, which was a massive pain in the butt. So for context, there are 8 wings on the Strike Freedom. Each wing has 4 stickers, each the fraction of the size of a pinky nail clipping, and they are all down inside crevices, so not the easiest to remove. And 8 wings with 4 stickers each meant there were 32 of these dang stickers. Man, I hated dealing with these things. It just kept going, and going, and going, like a never-ending nightmare. And it's still going! Anyway, I used a black primer for the base of all the colors I'll go through here. I'll spare you from seeing me add the primer to everything and just skip to the actual colors. So for every gray piece, I used Krylon's Premium Metallic Original Chrome. It is, in my opinion, the best spray paint chrome. Now I realize there are better chromes for airbrush out there. I actually own several now myself, but I didn't have an airbrush at the time. This kit did prompt me to break down and buy one though, and I will get into why in just a bit. Anyway, while the gray was what I was focused on covering, when you add that much chrome to a model, you need to then add some others to rebalance the look. So I updated all of the flat blue to a light metallic blue that I think turns out pretty well. As for the vibrant golds of the inner frame, as well as the solid white and black pieces, I thought they already looked fine and matched with the chrome, so I left them as is. The only other color that was left then was the red, which I updated to a metallic red that I think just turned out absolutely fantastic. It's my favorite of the colors, and I loved it so much I decanned it when I got my airbrush, but that actually didn't turn out too well, but story for another day. Now, before I put on the clear gloss top coat, I put the pieces back together. I am curious, though, about those who also use a top coat. Do you top coat each piece individually, or do you put the pieces together like I do here before applying it? Let me know in the comments. Now, the top coat here was a big part of what made me finally get an airbrush. Now, I always wanted an airbrush. As I found, I always ended up with a couple pieces that had uneven application, or due to the thickness of the metallic paints, ended up getting smeared or smudged with reconstruction or posing. So I was already on the fence, but what finally pushed me over the edge was that I could never get the top coat application right with spray paints. When I focused on making sure the model was fully covered, it would end up dripping with top coat. Sometimes I would end up with runs on the paint, or it ended up being so thick as to make the model difficult to piece together and or handle. Now, when I tried the opposite approach and just sprayed lightly over the top, like I end up doing here, it would result in gaps in coverage, but worst of all, would leave little droplet splatters. Now, that isn't noticeable from even a mile distance, and I'm not sure you can even tell in any of the pictures or video, but I loved this kit so much. So when I saw that, to me, it was just soul-crushing. I ended up adding another layer after the decals, but even then it still stuck out. So after that, I just thought, never again. Anyway, who needs groceries when dumpster diving is free? So with the painting done, we move on to detailing. So I did panel lining with Tamiya Panel Line Accent Color 40mm black. It uses a small dip brush in place of a pour marker, and I just clean up any excess ink with a paper towel or Q-tip. Now, even though this is sped up, I'm still cutting a lot of video here, both to shorten the video, because I don't have a lot to say on this, and so I can just show the better looking footage. Anyway, I skipped the darker colors like black and blue and just focused on panel lining the white and chrome. So that ended up being most of the body and weapons, but like none of the back piece or wings. Now, if you haven't panel lined before, you probably couldn't even really tell that I did any if I just showed you the finished project. Panel lining is one of those things that is very easily overlooked to the untrained eye, but really does vastly improve the look. It's like adding a thick black outline to a drawing. It just makes everything pop and look so much sharper. But trust me, if you put a model with panel lining next to one without it, it is obviously a massive improvement to even a casual observer. If you've not done any customization before, but would like to start getting into it, I would advise you start with panel lining. It's the easiest thing you can do that will greatly improve the look of the model, while simultaneously being extremely forgiving of mistakes, as it is very easy to wipe them away. And that brings us to the water slides. Easily my least favorite part of any build. Now, this isn't to say I don't like the look of water slides on the finished model, because I do. If I didn't, I would probably just skip this step. I just find the entire process a slow and tedious chore. First, I've got to cut out each individual decal. Then I have to soak it in water for a couple seconds. Then I usually have to wait a few more seconds for it to loosen up. Then I have to slowly and carefully get it to slide across the paper. I almost always struggle with this step too. It never seems to want to effortlessly slide off, and I usually have to pick at it a couple times. And I will also inevitably rip at least one decal in half. Of course, they also always include like 20 to 30 teeny tiny decals that are hard to place. It's guaranteed I lose at least one in the carpet. I'm also pretty sure the sadists over at Bandai plan for this too, because they always have a couple spares of those. I'm actually kind of curious, does anyone actually like doing water decals, or are they as exhausting for you as they are for me? Now, there's a crap ton of these, so just understand I cut out the majority of them from the video. Now moving on to the stickers. So since I was adding stickers throughout the build, I'll just show me adding back on the 32 wing stickers now that I've painted them. What a colossal pain. I don't have a lot to say about the stickers other than that. I like that these were metallic ones. Now after I finish adding these back, I go back and add another clear gloss top coat to help seal in the decals. Then I finish by putting the model back together. I have video of all this so you will see it. I'm just explaining it now because I am going to let that play while I go over the last category. Additions. For additions, I bought the Wings of Light expansion kit. I did take an hour of video of me putting it together, but I felt like most of it really wasn't worth showing. I will show a brief 10 to 15 second clip of me putting it together in the completion collage at the end of the video. I honestly kind of regret getting the expansion kit. The Strike Freedom looks super cool enough on its own, and I don't think the Wings of Light add enough to outweigh their negatives or visual faults. The two big negatives are, number one, the weight and size of the wings. They are too big and heavy for you to put the model in any pose other than the upright floating aerial pose you see on the box. You are not tilting the model forward or backward or putting the wings in any other position. Understand there are clear plastic support pieces in the back that are made to only hold it in that one position, and it is difficult to even get it to do that. Finally, the arm pieces that hold the wing funnels are super loose. You will not get them to stay put short of super glue or a miracle. Now, I edited it out of the finished photo, but in order for me to get the two on top to stay put, I had to scotch tape them together, and I tried for a good hour to get it to balance for 5 seconds so I could take a photo before I gave up and did so. In the end, only get the expansion if you want to glue the pose in place and never change it. Now take a look at this before and after. Don't those metallic colors look so much better? So there's the back piece and wings, and here's the body. Once again though, I didn't really think this through as I was recording, so I don't really have video with the head on for the before. I've taken note though for the next video. Now please enjoy the finished collage.